And so I am, and revenge is a dish best served cold, I guess, on a man who
Maybe
is
he's
basically
just a
this.
reckless and irresponsible jackass.
But without further ado, please welcome my wonderful guests, as Neph Champion. Not that. Sorry.
I just had a nap. Good afternoon,
Nice.
everyone.
Nice. And welcome, our resident wolf boy.
The current Wolf Lord of the Space Wolves is Logan Grimnar, also known as the Old Wolf. He rules from the Hall of the Great Wolf, together with his wolf lords such as Herald Deathwolf, Eagle Ironwolf, and Bjorn Stormwolf.
All I got out of that was wolf, 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 and wolf.
The Space Wolves are incredibly uninspired.
I still hear wolf when he says wolf.
This
so many times.
This is going to hurt a lot.
I don't think.
Well, no, I think we're gonna have fun with how dumb this is.
Oh wait, sorry. It's. Oh, right, I forgot. Completely different one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to do. This is kind of a preview. Do you think this is kind of a preview? Do you think for? Do you think that?
This is just a quick.
Do you think that this book, The Anxiety of Influence, sounds like it could be bad enough for
Anxiety of Influence? That's what it's called?
Yep.
Let him talk, Wolf.
Sorry.
So basically, it's kind of figure out, would The Anxiety of Influence be worth reading on stream? Is it bad enough for us to read on stream? So
I don't know. If it influenced Bennioff, then it probably is.
Yeah. But I want to just kind of make sure, for the sake of science, to since I have a free copy, money isn't an object. Money isn't a problem. I just want to see if it's going to be enough of a, like, wait, what? So this is kind of just a preview, because Dragon Vans is going to talk about it, and we are going to talk about it, yeah.
I thought we'd already gone over this one, actually.
Not exactly. We've gone over the Austin Film Fest ones, and they talked about at Austin Film Fest avoiding predictable ending. We haven't done this particular one.
Okay. There is nothing wrong with an ending being predictable. If people guessed, that means they were observant enough that your foreshadowing worked.
It's kind of weirder than that. It's actually weirder than that.
I would rather have some people predict my ending than to go, wait, you know how how do you know how I'm gonna end this? I'd rather it be somewhat predictable, because that means that they can spot a pattern. And that means that my readers are as smart as I think they are.
You don't want to pull off the Lost ending where it's like, you're just an idiot and this is what really happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no, I didn't watch Lost, but I know someone that watched Lost.
I've heard that the beginning of Lost is pretty good, but then it kind of just destroys itself a little bit.
Yep, but then the ending happened and everyone hated it.
Wait. Isn't Lost a J.J. Abrams thing?
Yes.
Well, I don't know how that would be predictable because it's Jar Jar. I would rather look at this box than open it to find out what's in it.
Alrighty. Ooh, we got some. Yeah. I trust you, Blue. Welcome, Latvian Dragon. Always a pleasure. Welcome, John Lemley. Welcome, Chris Moorhead. Welcome, Blue. Welcome, Dr. Crow. So this is just going to be this is actually a very good video, and I highly recommend that people watch it on your own. I'm just seeing what the reaction is to the general ideas that this kind of person is absorbing into himself and what this is about. So, without further ado, let's get going.
Video I'm dashing off without a script on something David Bennioff said at the Austin Film Fest panel. That he remarked that specifically the one book of literary criticism that he ever read from start to finish and internalized was a book written in 1973 by famous literary critic Harold Bloom. And if you've been following this with Bennioff, he barely reads anything, and he'll start books, start instruction manuals, like he said in other clips I posted, "Oh, I started reading that instruction manual on screenwriting, but I've never finished one because they make me feel stupid." That's a recurring theme with him. He's this dilettante. He's a spoiled brat. He never applies himself. So the one or two times that he actually lists off, this is a book I really like, and that I read it start to finish or reread it, red flags should be going off, because I don't just want to say, oh, he's a hack. That didn't damage him. You have to build a case that he isn't a legitimate writer. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he is a hack, but he wants to actually create something that will damage him by saying he literally has no idea what he is doing.
He's a self-aware hack.
Yeah. Actually, I think he can't be self-aware. A self-aware person would not say what he said at Austin Film Fest.
Let's be thankful that he's not self-aware, because otherwise, he might have a Star Wars trilogy, and we would have to suffer through that.
Neph, I already am contemplating getting the rope.
Alrighty, let's keep going.
You have to build a case that he isn't a legitimate writer. He doesn't know anything about how writing works. There's a specific list of a skill set that he does not possess. And he has this warped view of the world from being basically an incel who was a dilettante in college, studied obscure things like Proust and Beckett, not like Faulkner and real writing.
Laugh yourself out, Wolf. Yeah.
Incel. Oh my god. These people are incels.
That was funny.
Yeah.
No, this does not sound good, and it does not sound good because it is not good, Chris.
Yeah.
Consider the fact that this is the only book he's finished. This is setting off all. There is.
Yeah,
all the red flags in my hand just went up.
Yeah, this is the only book that does make me feel stupid.
My IQ are negative 20 feels enlightened by this book.
Good God.
Yep. And it gets better.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till we actually get into the book.
Oh, no.
I know that's really just hardcore literary theory stuff, not stuff you'd ask for a TV writer or popular book writer. It doesn't translate well. So this is just a preview. I'm dashing this off without a script, that this is going to feed into my larger ongoing series on who is David Bennioff, analyzing and exposing to him, to the world, just how screwed up he is. I'm going to pick that up again in like April or something. I want to get to prequel stuff first, but I wanted to make this so I don't forget it.
Ads.
Oh,
But with
great.
this-
Oh, why do you not have an ad blocker?
I probably need to get one, but
There are free ones.
oh, there is.
Yeah, there are free ones.
Just find one.
Yeah, it depends on the browser you use.
I use
There
Chrome.
are a lot.
Oh, then in that case, you'll find a lot of free ones.
Yeah.
Just find one that works, because I have one ad block, but I can't run it because if I do, it'll crash YouTube.
Well, I've got several.
Alrighty, let's keep going.
Oh, by the way, as you may see, I'm not posting an audio clip of this because I want to get in trouble with Austin Film Fest again. That this is just a quick update. In case you haven't noticed, my channel got shut down for 3 weeks because I posted highlight clips of them, Benioff and Weiss from Austin Film Fest, saying these embarrassing, insulting things. We don't know how production or writing work. It was a big film school to us. And someone had illicitly recorded it online and posted online to SoundCloud. And they didn't make any legal action against that for 3 months. So I thought, okay, I'll make these clips proselytizing, spreading to everyone. They said these things, so you don't have to wade through an hour-long panel to hear the worst parts. And when they found my thing, which I don't know how they got ticked off, it had only been up for a day before they took it down after like 2,000 views. They put a formal copyright block on my channel with a copyright strike, which even if you agree to that, it shuts your channel down for 3 months, which is absurd. This was fair use. So I challenged it with a counterclaim. They could have fought that in court. It got pretty scary because I couldn't handle a court case like that. I'm just some guy with the expenses and stuff. So
that's like the
put a
scariest thing.
counterclaim in. Thankfully, I had a strong enough of a case that they could have cheated and just gotten me in court because I couldn't afford court. But it was so clearly a fair use thing. They didn't contest the counterclaim. So after a certain number of business days, after 3 weeks, it expired. The strike is off. My channel is up again, and the video clips are restored. Please check them out. So just catching up, that I posted a video explaining this as soon as my channel went back up like 3 days ago, but I recorded that 3 weeks ago only to realize, wait a minute, I can't load this. That yes, officially go to my community page on my channel if you want to hear more. I write a lot more in the comments there of how the case was going. So I'm not going to be able to post another clip of this because I didn't already. I wanted to stick to the ones that already survived the copyright process, but you don't really need to for this. And it's just so I remember and you remember. This is a rough draft, no notes. And I talked about it on Twitter.
Yeah, how the hell did they find it if it was on SoundCloud for 3 months before he put this stuff up? How did they find it?
Yeah.
I mean, why?
This is like
I don't know either.
Copyright's like terrible.
I'm glad that he got his channel back, and it was only 1 strike of 3, but at the same time,
it's terrifying. It's what.
Yeah.
And the worst part is you can't fight back because you don't have time or resources. They do. They can sit this out. You can't.
Yep. You gotta be real careful or real sure.
Yep. This video is basically about the only book of literary criticism that Bennioff has ever read.
It's every other book made him feel dumb, which it should.
So, this is what we're going to be chatting about. and we're going to eventually read this book. But this is kind of a just a little kind of preview of things to come, shall we say. But we can kind of just let the video play for a little bit.
Every criticism I've ever read and internalized was Harry Bloom's, it's called The Anxiety of Influence. I'm nervous that this won't make sense because it sounds weird what I'm about to tell you, but he's a really weird person. Bennioff has a warped view of the world, and I know it sounds like I'm a conspiracy theorist pointing this out, but he says these things. So part of examining what the hell screwed him up like this is, like, what was his childhood like? What was his school experience and prior work like? Researching a biography of him, basically. And one big tool for that is a couple of years ago, he did an interview with the New York Times listing off his favorite books, a dozen or so of his favorite books. And when you look at them...
I've never heard of these things. I've never heard of most of these books.
Okay, let's see. If things fall apart, what's the second one?
Hickory Jam, it looks like.
For
I don't
whom
know.
the bell tolls, the Holy Bible?
Holy Bible!
Samuel Beckett Murphy, Collected Poems of W.B. Yeats, The Member of the Wedding, The
White
Dreams,
Tiger,
The Dream Spring, and Dream Songs. These are really weird, obscure books.
Well, not the Bible.
Collective Poems of W.B. Yeats.
Well, the Bible's obscure. Everyone knows the Bible.
The Bible's not obscure, though.
But it's not a fiction book.
Yeah, it's not.
The only thing out of these is that's the most well-known books. It seems like this guy's is kind of a hipster. Oh, cool. I get the opportunity to show something off.
Now that is nice.
That's the yokai. Oh God, Don died.
Oh no, Don!
You forgot. You're not supposed to play clips while you're staring at a screen.
Oops. Don,
Lucky,
get back here.
Okay, Lucky, you can only do that if you have the paid version of StreamYards. Otherwise, you can't add on clips.
Yeah, oops.
Thanks, yokai, you blew them up.
Well, it's a great clip to blow up, too.
Yeah, Ooh, boy. Dun Gashinda. This is great. Can Black Slayer be considered ambiguously brown woman?
No. The Bible's not a fiction book. Depends on your point of view, but weird statement as a favorite book. Yeah, and as each year goes by, it seems more and more of the Bible gets confirmed as actual history.
That is weird. That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
I meant ambiguously done women.
Well, done means brown, so it still works.
So, when Dunn died, he left Neph in charge as is part of his will.
He's not actually dead. We're just waiting for him to come back.
Oh, hey, yokai.
Sorry.
And Dunn is back. Hello, yokai.
All right, looks like I'm in. Sorry about that, Dunn.
Yeah, I have to say, yokai, you did great killing Dunn in the explosion.
That is the best entrance yet for you.
A regrettable A regrettable miscalculation in my part.
How can you add strips clips to a stream? Basically, you get the paid version of Streamlabs, and then you can do fun stuff like this.
House rules, Sammy. Driver picks the music. Shotgun shuts his cake hole.
So, Yokai, in your attempt to not kill the man who managed to kill an innocent.
Yeah. That's how, what does this article mean by books? Books are too broad a term. Yeah, I don't know. It's just Bennioff's favorite books that he loves. Yeah. And, like, another fun thing that I like to use
You're going to burn in a very special level of hell. A level they reserve for child molesters and people who talk at the theater.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's keep going and dive more into the mind of this strange man. His mind is not unlike Tommy Wiseau's in many ways.
He's only got one brain cell, so.
Well, hey, don't insult Tommy Wiseau. He makes intellectually bad films that are hilarious.
And at least they're funny.
Yeah.
At least you could watch The Room and not feel insulted.
And one big tool for that is a couple of years ago, he did an interview with the New York Times listing off his favorite books, a dozen or so of his favorite books. And when you look at them and the way he interprets them, because some of them are, it's weird the way he goes, oh man, I like this because I have so many father issues too, or yeah, I wrestle like that. It's his warped worldview of what does he think is a great story. But I'm going to get to that in the full thing. This isn't quite the same part as that. But the goal is to do an expose on him and try and figure out what makes him tick. Why the hell is he like this? And we can't just go, they're hacks, but maybe I should examine his reading habits for rational investigation into what the heck makes Bennioff like this. Why has he been making these changes to the show other than pure randomness? So it wasn't in his list of favorite books. This other new thing I'd never heard of, oh, there's this one book of literary criticism I really like. It's really informed my approach to writing. Oh, what can we read into this? What is the anxiety of influence? Well, by the time Bennioff would have been reading this in the early 90s, it was a 20-year-old book on literary theory, which has since been
debunked,
severely challenged. Harold Bloom is this crotchety old man, English professor, who, the stereotypical stuffy and removed from everything, and like relative to other writers, he has these really hyper-conservative, I don't even mean conservative in that sense. No, this is what English writing is. That basically, he's this writer who said, the whole point of the anxiety of influence, I'm going to link to the Wikipedia page in the description below, please check that out. If Harold Bloom was such influence on Bennioff, Harold Bloom insists that writing is only good when it's unique, when it's new. And he's the guy who came up with the idea of the Western canon, that there are certain definitive books, Emily Dickinson, Kafka, Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Samuel Beckett.
Newsflash, nothing is
these
new.
are the only books worth reading. And even things like Faulkner or Maya Angelou, they're not real writing, poetry or otherwise. That I'm going to explain this in the longer thing. It's just making this so I don't forget about it. That he said every writer is afraid of and under the anxiety of influence that, oh no, I'm not writing something original. I'm writing something in reaction to other people or influenced by them. And he turned this into, he said, everything except for these 26 authors that I've outlined, like James Joyce, they're the literature of resentment, he calls it.
What?
Because you're just reacting to other things. It's not original.
Holy crap!
When
What
it's
the
like
hell is that?
Could somebody... Okay, do you have your contender on you?
Excuse me?
Do you have your contender on you?
What are you referring to? What do you mean?
Thompson contender.
No. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Really? Like,
Okay,
Just-
so let's
just shoot me already.
we're actually gotten through a lot of it. We got through 8 minutes and 26 seconds.
I think that's a new record.
Yeah, 8
Yeah.
minutes
Has to
and
be a
26.
record.
Poetry is writing, and newsflash, old English professor, no story is new. It's just told in a new way. One of my favorite stories, actually, is the Exodus.
Yeah,
And,
I love Prince of Egypt and Ten Commandments. Though
exactly.
Prince of Egypt is better than Ten Commandments. Fight me.
No, I agree with you.
I have not watched either.
You're talking about the Thompson. That's what you're talking about. Yes, of course I have that one.
Okay, good. I want you to load that and shoot me.
No, don't shoot my
This
pet
isn't-
wolf.
This isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. It's just like this guy is like, okay, we're all resentful and we're all like, we are anxious of being influenced. And the only
Why would we
writing
be-
worth anything.
Why?
I
When
love
we're
taking
influenced
influence.
by things. When we're influenced by things, we end up making references, and it ends up being easier to write.
Sure, I agree. Wasn't Star Wars inspired by a lot of things?
Flash
Yeah, like-
Gordon, the pulps.
So it's like George Lucas didn't feel anxiety under influence when he was making that stuff. I don't think.
No.
Yeah, and a lot of people have debunked it. There's a lot of articles online saying that Harold Bloom's thing is deeply flawed.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say he's crazy, but he's got a way of
Strange view.
Yeah.
He's got strange views, yeah. But yeah, at least like what we're listening to is not yet this man's work. It's basically a journalist taking a look at what this guy is talking about. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Yeah, oh my god, I can't believe you're right. You would think an English professor would know this.
Mm-hmm.
A reactionary thing. Like think like how Quentin Tarantino was playing on genre conventions in his movies. They go, well, no, that isn't original or an idea. This is a satire. That's the purpose of satire, is to be in reaction to something else. Then it's not real literature. Same thing. George R.R. Martin loves Tolkien, but he said A Song of Ice and Fire is in many ways a reaction to Tolkien. Well, it needs to be more realistic, like a Faulkner novel where they're not fighting monsters. The monsters are the darkness of the human heart in conflict with itself. A speech he's given many times. Because, you see that in his work. That it's Martin reacting to that, reacting to his Vietnam experience, all this other stuff, that when you actually sit down and read the article on Harold Bloom, please check it out. It is absurd that this guy was considered like a leading critic when his criticism, it wasn't like a school of thought of interpretation. He said, there's only 26 authors that'll ever be worth reading. Stop making new stuff. And when he meant by the literature of resentment, was he throws in like anything about
Multiculturalist feminist theory, African American studies, and Marxist theorists also to deride neoconservatives, among others.
What? What? Marxist? What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't
I
see colonial theory in here. I need them all.
Oh God. Yeah,
So-
his views are
It's usually so neither side likes him. I don't think either side likes him because he derides both sides as useless.
Oh my God.
Which, in some ways, the right is utterly useless. But the left, I kind of hate the left more because the left are hypocrites most of the time.
I just be the pretentious centrist and just say everyone's are idiots.
Well, there are extreme people on both sides, yeah.
I'm liberal, so therefore I must follow all liberal views. News? No.
No. No, I'm sorry. You are not characterizing people like me properly.
That's what you're... I
want nothing to do with these people.
Blue might be insane.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's my reaction to seeing this stuff. It's like I instantly zeroed in on the second paragraph. Second statement right here.
Yeah, it's like applied this term to multiculturalists, feminist theory, African American studies, and Marxist theories, but also to deride neoconservatives. What the hell is a neoconservative?
Let me see. I don't remember.
I think that's just the new enlightened incels.
Yeah. Okay, neoconservative. Relating or to or denoting a return to a modified form of a traditional viewpoint.
It's just a traditional viewpoint. How is it? It's just...
I mean, like, I think it means, like, way, like, early conservatism. Tisms.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep going, shall we?
Yes.
Women's feminist literature or African American literature reacting to prior tropes. So that's just in reaction to other stuff. Therefore, it's not original. Therefore, it's worthless. And it's not just a literal backlash, mind you. He'll also point to conservative writers, just heterosexual white male reacting to things like Marxism or something. He'll also go, well, that's not original. It's just reacting to something that by process of elimination, you're trying to figure out what agenda did Harold Bloom have? He didn't believe in any one group of people or otherwise, or structuralism as a literary ideal. His only value was seemingly uniqueness. And that every author is terrified of no, I'm only making this in reaction to something else, therefore it's derivative. And a lot of writers would be comfortable with, yeah, I'm reacting to something.
Drake! Oh my god, Drake!
RX-38-2 Granddaddy Gun at working hands now. This is giving you reason for once to persist. Alright then. Yeah. Do that, please.
Yeah.
I need to hear neoconservatism applied to geopolitics and the like.
Neoconservatives are different who are the mainstream conservatives. Okay. But we're making good time. Like, do you think that this book would be fun to read?
Should be.
Yes, I think.
I mean, we got Framing Monsters by Joshua David Bellin. Why not add in Harold Bloom's The Anxiety of Influence?
Well, we need to finish Framing Monsters first, but I don't see why we can't add
something to the list. But yeah, I think that I'm just this is kind of just a preview, kind of a short preview to see, okay, would this be worth it? And I'm thinking so far it would be, just from this preview.
Let's see if Pirates did decide to salvage this book.
Actually, they did. I have a PDF already, but it's on it's on an academic thing, on an academic source.
Good. So that when we're finished with Framing Monsters, the first thing you can do is burn that book.
This be.
You're just trying desperately and understandably to put out Empress Teresa, aren't you?
Who's Empress Teresa?
Yeah,
it's some kind of porn book.
No, we are not reading My Immortal.
Read them all.
Oh, we are not reading My Immortal.
No,
Why not?
we're not.
Why not? How bad could it be?
Imagine all the worst books you could ever imagine, and then imagine if it somehow managed to mess up its own basic world, the world set in, as well as continuously anachronism itself.
Let's just say the person who wrote it has absolutely no grasp of Harry Potter.
As well as making continuous spelling errors, as well as putting in all the goth.
No.
Still waiting.
No. Listen, well, here, let's negotiate. We will read My Immortal, but you must pay us $500.
No, I think
Done
no.
has to be monetized first.
Yes, that will
That's
be.
my condition.
Yeah. Okay. That will. Okay. We will read My Immortal as soon as I get to 1,000 subscribers. That will be our celebration.
No. It can't be that. You have to have 4,000 watch hours done as well. Because
I think
you
that
have
we
to
should
have
be able
both.
to get there. I think that we should be.
You have to have both, and I think we should have that when you've got both for certain. So keep an eye on your watch hours too.
Considering the fact of how many streams we have, I wouldn't be surprised if we're approaching that quickly.
Yeah, you should check.
Yeah, we should be fine.
No,
But let's
I don't.
keep going.
No, I don't think My Immortal was supposed to be a joke.
I don't think it was either. It feels basically the only way you could get something that bad is from it being genuine.
How does that invalidate what I did? That it doesn't need to be unique. I'm phrasing my reaction to it. That's crazy. And this gets to the point where really got me was it got to the point where in his later years he started saying Shakespeare was reactionary because so many of his books were competing.
Shakespeare?
Who was Shakespeare reacting to? The wind?
What was Shakespeare reacting to? I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things that Shakespeare was the first of.
Lots of Greek stuff. Like
Yeah. I guess, but there's also most of his. But it. Oh my god.
Even Shakespeare, it's just so. It's so weird.
But my question is, if you, where are you going to get your inspiration from?
Yeah. So basically, this guy insults Shakespeare.
No,
That's how crazy this man is.
Shakespeare is like one of the literary greats because we are forced to read him in high school. And it turns a lot of people off.
I got to see the plays live, so I didn't have to have that problem. So.
Well, yeah, but I had to read, let's see, was it Hamlet? No, I got to read Macbeth. And I had to read it twice before I figured out how to, I had to read it twice to make sure I understood everything. Because old English is hard to understand.
And that is why you should watch Shakespeare movies. And that's why you should watch Shakespeare movies, not read the plays. Because actually, when you watch the play, it makes things easier because you actually have context.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's keep going.
With Christopher Marlowe, the other famous playwright of the time, that so many of Shakespeare's plays are just desperately trying to compete with Marlowe. They're not original works. Therefore, they're meaningless.
But nobody knows who Marlowe is. Who's Marlowe?
Let me see here. Marlowe.
Here's a thought. There's nothing new under the sun was itself a well-known philosophy before it made it into what would become the Bible.
What's his last name?
I have no
Bloom.
idea.
Bloom. Harold
No,
Bloom.
Marlowe. What's Marlowe's last name?
I believe that it is Thomas Marlowe. Marlowe's his last name. Christopher Marlowe.
Christopher Marlowe. Ah, here it is. Got him. Okay, Christopher Marlowe, also known as Kit Marlowe, was an English playwright, poet, and translator of the Elizabeth era.
Well, this is the first time I've heard of him.
So is he the guy who wrote "'Tis Pity She's a Whore"?
He wrote Dr. Faustus, Tamerlane, The Jew of Malta, Edward II, Dido, Queen of Carthage, and The Massacre at Paris.
Okay. I'm
and
kind
I've
of
heard
disappointed.
of none of those.
I'm kind of sad that he didn't write "'Tis Pity She's a Whore." That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but was it "'Tis Pity"? It's by John Ford.
Okay, yeah. So for reference, it is a play that's basically Romeo and Juliet, only they're brother and sister.
Oh my god! Why?
Okay.
And it ends with Romeo stabbing his lover and then committing suicide, I believe.
But yeah, it was made by one John Ford. It's a tragedy.
Of course.
Yep. Well, let's keep going, shall we?
Yeah.
Of a curmudgeonly Ivy League English professor who hates everything except for hyper theory by like Proust and Beckett and James Joyce stuff, going, this is what literature is, nothing else matters. Not liberal, not conservative, it's just this is a crazy person. And there have been a lot of reactions against this guy, which Bennioff never read, of, you know, when you value a ideology, you should read books about it and then criticisms of it and weigh the two and figure out what you decide. He said, I've only literally read one book. Have you ever read a book criticizing Bloom to decide if it's strong enough to hold up under scrutiny or not? And where it gets really bizarre is Bloom phrases this anxiety of influence that we're all afraid writers should be or in constant fear that they're just derivative of other things.
Freudian terms.
Phrases it in specifically Freudian terms, and it gets really interpretive and weird in this. But he comes up with terms like this, like
conflict.
The shadow.
What?
Edible conflict.
Are you?
Oedipal conflict. What the?
Oedipal conflict just means conflict with the father over the mother.
You mean the Oedipus complex?
Kind of, yeah.
But wasn't Freud debunked?
A little bit, yeah.
So it's, oh my god. Ugh.
Da, 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 da.
Ugh.
Oh, we're covering Wit and Folly today. Oh, this should be great.
Oh, which video?
The Violence Binary.
Somehow I feel 1,000 brain cells crying out in terror before being silenced.
Same here.
Alrighty, let's keep going. We got
of the cherub that we're all under at our writing, that he says, in purely Freudian terms, it's like we're fighting against our fathers. That every good, real English writer, it's like James Joyce is a father figure that we're trying to come out from under the shadow of, but we can't. And it's...
No, No.
That doesn't apply to everyone like it is to you. That sounds really specific. But he said it's like this Oedipal struggle with the writers that came before us. And this is crap. This book was written in 73. It wasn't even that popular in the 70s and 80s. People were reacting to it. He's a misanthrope. It's not just he was reacting to all of the civil rights stuff, like women's movement, African American, LGBT stuff. He hated the men's stuff too. He believed in nothing except James Joyce is amazing, and this is the only literature.
I've never even heard of
he's a nihilist.
Bennioff made.
Yeah, and I would agree that Bennioff is kind of a nihilist. Especially based on like the ending of Game of Thrones, he doesn't believe in anything.
Oh, I hate nihilists.
Yeah, it's like maybe if he had a couple of the episodes, he could have done the politics of afterwards decently. But as it was, he shouldn't have.
Also, add in 4 seconds.
Alrighty. It's just insane. Why is... It's kind of insane.
Yeah, it is.
And also, like, I would have say that Ryan Johnson is kind of a nihilist in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Add in 4 seconds, great.
I told you. I warned you about that like not 10 seconds ago.
Huh?
So...
What?
I said add in 4 seconds like a couple seconds ago. Oh my god, that's sad.
Oh no.
Why is this game being advertised? And it's going for like the mobile.
That gives me a lot of insight into Bennioff's mentality. That when I've tried to explain who Bennioff is before, he's really David Friedman. That his father is Stephen Friedman is this famous Wall Street banker millionaire. He's the former head of Goldman Sachs, and David was always his lackluster dilettante son. That his older two sisters became a lawyer and a psychologist. He was just this failed writer for years, and he was always in his father's shadow, never achieved anything. He never wrote a book for the first 10 years out of college. He was bad at writing because they stunted him developmentally. And even like when he made 25th Hour, he later admitted, oh yeah, I wrote that as a star vehicle for Tobey Maguire because I realized I was only going to get a book published if I pitched it as a star vehicle for an actor. That you're a sellout then. And this is after yelling about, all those writers who write books to turn them into movies are sellouts. There's a point of commentary, DVD commentary, he admits that's what he did. But when you see just how anxious he is about being in his famous father's shadow and all of his daddy issues and the utter narcissism you see with him and his comments in other interviews, I'm not going to get into this, that my parents ignored me as a child to the point I became a pathological liar. And to the point I was getting called into parent-teacher conferences and they go, your son is lying all the time and lying about his parents specifically, saying my father was a submarine captain. And his parents didn't even punish him for this. They just
why
laughed
did
it
his
off.
parents not try to reel him in? Because
they just didn't care.
You know how my mother would deal with me lying?
Kick your butt.
She punched me right in the face.
I'd get smacked.
Yeah, it's like real parents. They don't let you lie. They will
punish you.
Whether it be at grounding, timeout, or they'll break some of your stuff, or they'll just teach you a lesson through discipline.
Yeah. My parents were big on, okay, we're going to take your stuff for a bit. You're grounded, or a good old-fashioned swat to the behind.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even, hit him or anything. They ignored him. So, he's physically pampered going to elite schools and stuff when he is utterly neglected. And he said, I turned to literature and fantasy as an escape. That he read a lot of the fantasy books that were popular in the 70s. He's a Dungeons and
I
Dragons
think going
nerd.
a hard time.
He's not this swaggering cool guy. He reinvented his public image when he started making movies as part of an act that fake it till you make it. If I act like this swaggering, confident, drunken dude bro, people will think I'm confident enough to know what I'm doing. So all the crass locker room talk humor,
Well, it
that's him
certainly
imitating
worked on Martin.
what he perceives
Poor
as
guy.
successful alpha male being like from his father's world, from the fathers of his other students at elite schools for, prep schools for Wall Street kids, that they act like these American Psycho style swaggering drunk guys who have locker room talk and are really crass. So I'm not
dude bros.
They kind of he's trying to. He's a faux Chad. That's what he wants to. That's what he is.
He's too ashamed to admit he's a real. He's too ashamed to admit that he's a virgin.
He said no. He's got kids.
It's no. I mean, you know the virgins versus the Chad memes.
Oh.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Getting late's not the concept I'm referring to when I say virgin.
And of his top favorite books, there are no fantasy books in there. All of them are, except for the Bible, maybe. All of them looked like they were non-fiction. Well, even the Bible's really non-fiction, but
it's a coin toss, really.
Yeah.
It's like one thing's like, oh yeah, this story's true, but not this one. But so is this one, but at the same time, not this one. So it's the middle of the road until we figure out more.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's keep going.
It's all a performance when you see how rude he's being in interviews. It's because he's scared. So I'm rambling on that, but I've already said in other interviews, like, this guy, you can see he developed narcissistic personality disorder. I'm fairly confident he has that from his own self-loathing, from his father. He's basically Cersei. He's book Cersei, not TV Cersei, and he screwed up the Lannisters for a reason, that he was never going to escape from his more successful, powerful father's shadow. He hated being introduced as Stephen Friedman's son. These are problems we already knew he had.
If he wanted to escape his father's shadow, he should have buckled down and studied.
That would require work.
Yeah.
Exception is that David Bennioff was comfortable living in his father's shadow.
And therein lies the hypocrisy.
Indeed.
Do that. Check out my other videos on that. This guy has a massive chip on his shoulder, a giant inferiority complex, and he has imposter syndrome. I'm not the only one saying this. Look at a Game of Thrones Academy. He has a co-host who is a psychologist who will come on and go, I think he has imposter syndrome. They had a whole video after season 8 of he's trying too hard because he knows he's dependent on other people. And so you see, it's that whole love-hate relationship, that because he was this spoiled brat rich kid, he isn't good at things and he's dependent on other people. But at the same time, he resents that. Like, he would be nowhere without his father's money. And how dare you talk to me that way? I'm Stephen Friedman's son. But on the other hand, he resents that he's dependent on him, that he's a trust fund kid. Similarly, I think he grew resentful of George R.R. Martin, that people are here for him and not me, even though the whole point of this con was to ride his coattails. How increasingly a lot of people are saying, I think he resents Kit Harington. I don't know if that's true or not, but he wishes.
His wife definitely likes Kit Harington.
So now he has an inferiority complex.
Yeah, he's got a inferiority complex.
So he's got daddy issues, he's got narcissism, he's a pathological liar, he has an inferiority complex the size of Mount Vesuvius. What else? He honestly is not fully mentally developed. He's
not.
I'm sorry about that, everybody. I am now here paying attention.
Okay.
Oh, wait, well, I keep forgetting you're here sometimes.
So
Yeah.
it's just.
It's
I
like,
hate
I have been
Bennioff.
all screwed up lately. I couldn't even think of fucking Karitsugu's primary weapon. That's how I know I'm not in the right state of mind.
Yeah.
But I'm good now. I'm all right.
I can't believe you guys missed a code. Yeah,
I just wrote a fucking story about that weapon, and I didn't even know what you were talking. Like, that's how you know I'm stressed out. But I'm okay now.
Yeah, I could definitely say this man should definitely be not be alive. He is obviously not fully mentally developed or alive. Just from his basic decisions, it's just clear that this man. Well, we already know it, so the answer is kind of obvious.
This man needed to have therapy.
Imagine Bennioff in a novel. I already wrote him.
Is he a serial killer, perchance?
No, he's just a failed assassin who acts so impulsively that he gets himself killed.
Nice.
I read that last week. Last Saturday, you remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
I kind of forgot.
I need to get that.
Because he had the phrase Jim Harrington had, he's the face of the show more than him. So I don't know how much of that, but at the least with Martin and stuff.
He would have been more the face had he been more willing to answer questions and not leave it to the damn crew.
And the actors, yeah.
Hey, how many horses do you need? How much time do you have? Well, to take some more horses, it's going to take like a couple months at best. You have 3 weeks. You have a week. What?
Yeah.
You have just under 2. You have 2 weeks essentially.
It's you are talking to an animal specialist. They know what they're doing. You listen to people who know what they are doing to learn.
As much as I dislike Rayla, don't diss her, because at least
this is one of my characters is named Rayla.
Oh,
yeah.
He's referring to something else. I will post the video. I will post an edit of just that part of the video where I talk about where I write in the deaths of basically the analogs of Bennioff, and I eviscerate them in fiction as Chaucer did. So, but I will do that after today, just in case.
Yeah, he keeps the irony that all the projects he keeps trying to make are adaptations of things. X-Men Origins Wolverine, Troy. He just signed up to do a Lovecraft adaptation of a graphic novel about Lovecraft.
Oh God!
The biggest thing he's known for is an adaptation, which is derivative of something else. He can't make his own stuff. He rides the coattails of other people, and then gets resentful about it.
Okay.
So what really struck
He
me
sounds like he doesn't
was
sound like.
We already knew.
If you could just pause it for me, he doesn't sound like someone, and maybe this is an overstatement, but I think you've heard me say in the past that I can actually somewhat relate with this guy we're talking about, Bennioff here. I sometimes relate with some of the mistakes that he makes because I'm an aspiring writer. But that's the thing. He doesn't sound like a professional. He sounds like someone aspiring to become a professional. He makes a lot of mistakes that I would make. But I'm a 24-year-old schmuck. I'm supposed to make those mistakes. I've never been a leader of a great project before. I'm writing fan fictions, and when I do original fiction, it's usually based on something that heavily inspires me. So again, this right here, this is something I would do. I would make adaptations of other people's work because I find it inspiring. But that's because I'm an aspiring writer. I'm not a professional like he is.
And the more adaptations you do, the more you figure things out too, because you have a guide to work with.
Yeah. So again, maybe it's not my place to say this, but it just he doesn't sound like someone that's in his current position. He sounds like someone that would like to one day be in the position he actually is in right now. He's behind. He's making mistakes that I would make.
And he's 50.
And that's not all.
This man is 50.
Yeah, so this guy's twice my age, and he's in an established position, and he's doing things I would do as a beginner.
Not at all. What he doesn't do is learn from his mistakes.
Because he thinks I'm perfect.
He doesn't notice that he's making mistakes.
Here's the thing. As a writer, you should be able to notice your own mistakes, or at least be able to respond correctly when people point out your mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't make the same one twice.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you do see what I'm going with, right? You get what I'm saying.
Imposter syndrome. What the hell is that?
Basically, it's like you are an imposter. You feel like you're an imposter, and it affects and it gives you cognitive dissonance, I believe. Let me look it up just to make sure. That way I don't.
Imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon, imposterism, fraud syndrome, when the imposter experience is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments or talents and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud.
Because, like, I don't want to get into this guy's private life or anything, because that ain't none of my business. But I'm just saying, when I examine the things that this guy says and the types of mistakes that he makes and the way in which people seem to be exposing him. Now, again, this is surface level. These are surface level observations, particularly based on what this video we're watching right now has to say, because I know we've watched this guy before. I don't know his username, but so
the Dragon Demands.
Okay, so what the Dragon Demands has to say about this guy, that's most of my indulgence about Bennioff, at least at the moment. But if I was to sit down and look at the things that he's written start to finish, and then if I came to the agreement that, okay, yeah, I also agree that the conclusion is, yeah, a lot of what he writes is based on other people's work. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising based on other mistakes that he's made that we've seen him do, like the horse thing and giving him 5 minutes to do it. I mean, again, these are mistakes that I would make. And it makes sense, because I'm a young guy and I'm just learning how to do stuff like this. He's been doing this a long time. He's twice my age. These are mistakes he shouldn't be making.
Yeah.
So he doesn't come off to me as someone who is a professional writer and director. He comes off to me as an aspiring writer at best. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. That's my genuine observation.
Not aspiring writer, amateur writer.
Don't call him a writer. Call him a 5-year-old with a pencil.
He sounds like a fanfic writer to me.
I wouldn't even.
It feels like.
I wouldn't even.
So
and yes, I'm aware that that's an insult to people like me and you, Yokai. But that's certainly what it feels like. It feels like he should be writing fanfic.
Well, because what is a fan fiction writer? A fan fiction writer is someone who aspires to one day write original fiction. That's usually what fan fiction writers are, in my experience.
Yeah.
So again, that comes back to my previous point. Well, yeah, but what you're saying aligns with my previous point. How it's like, yeah, he comes off as someone that's just beginning. This isn't someone that's reached his peak. This isn't someone that should be given something like Game of Thrones. He's not at that level.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are.
This is actually a good question. Yeah, this is actually a good question. How many direct terrible remakes are we getting lately? Because many of the directors are resentful of the franchise they're remaking. I think that is actually very accurate.
I'd say all of them. All of them resent what they're remaking. It's like, why do you resent this? This is putting food on your table and clothing on your back.
It's like the people running Star Wars. They don't really care about Star Wars. They care about money. But at the same time, they don't care about the integrity of the movies itself.
That you can make the case that his rich parents let him get open. Yeah, I think that's actually fair.
Considering the fact that
nepotism at its finest.
Nepotism.
No, not in this case.
Nepotism. Your name is so memeable. It's great. All right, let's keep going.
This podcast is live.
And now here he is saying, the one book of literary theory I ever read start to finish and really internalized was The Anxiety of Influence by Harold Bloom. which is dated, has all sorts of criticisms that he never even bothered to look up, but the central point of which is all the literary greats before us were living in their shadow, like father figures we're rebelling against. He's the kind of person who would eat that shit up. And on top of that, worrying that everything I do is derivative of these earlier writer father figure types, and that the only literature of value, Bloom's whole thing was, doesn't matter what it's about, it's liberal, conservative, whatever, it has to be unique. That the worst thing is to be derivative. That if you want a book to live forever, it has to be unique. That's another whole thing I'm going to get into, that I think Bennioff is afraid of dying, in the sense that he's afraid of being forgotten. And he's verbalized this before, that it's what I call the sad Bennioff interview from like 2006. It's a writer's con where he's really
he's
drunk.
certainly never going to be
just
forgotten.
A little interview.
He's going to be remembered forever as the guy who killed
so much.
Yeah, he's going to be known as the guy who butchered Game of Thrones. But, you know, that's not what he wants to be remembered for.
And he's going to be he's also, like, based on, like, reports, he's also going to be remembered as the guy who sunk lots and lots of money into the three-body problem and ultimately ruined it, along with Ryan Johnson.
That's at all. Yeah. He's going to be remembered as the person that's showing up every time we type in bad writers onto Google.
Let's just keep. We got 8 minutes left, and it's only been an hour. We're making really good time.
Yeah, we are. Making
you on a camera in a hotel room.
I said this stream will be short.
And he's saying how I really hope my books get remembered like Herman Melville, who wrote Moby Dick. It's like, the 25th hour, and you're comparing it to Moby Dick.
Really?
I want to adapt all your novels and mess them up. No, you don't.
All your novels belong to us.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Just why? Bennioff, you have no concept that you'll be remembered.
That's how his mind works. And you follow that he wasn't loved as a child. He was neglected like Book Cersei. So he replaced with that narcissistic, spoiled brat, poor little rich kid who needs attention, starved for attention. And we know this. At school, he turned to telling entertaining lies. They say, I make up lies to get attention, which I turned into storytelling. Right? So storytelling, the fame from being a writer, is his attempt at getting love. And because he said, my parents neglected me to the point they wouldn't even punish me for anything. That the worst thing in the world to him is being ignored. And therefore being forgotten. Being forgotten is terrible for him. That there's no such thing as bad attention when you're this neglected, spoiled rich kid. So you see so many
we should make it like
speeches in Game of Thrones that are not in the books, and maybe they'll be in future books. It'll be interesting to see if they cut them out. Where characters rant about death is being forgotten. And it's, wait a minute. He talks like that in some of his interviews. I'm going to intercut these in the full version of this months from now. Like, when the Night King is coming, Sam Tarly gives that whole speech about death is being forgotten.
Yeah. So the video that we're watching is Dragon Demands, and the
book is Harold Bloom. The person is David Bennioff.
Yep. So we're just kind of seeing if this guy. So, who wants to read Anxiety of Influence on stream interspersed with Framing Monsters?
I do.
Alrighty. Let's just finish with...
It's like, we should make it like Brienne of Tarth. We should write down his name in the book, but then close it before the ink dries.
He's the dude who ruined Game of Thrones.
And Iliad and Wolverine and so many others.
Yeah, yes, he does deserve to be forgotten.
Don't even let the ink dry. Burn it.
Yes.
Yep.
God.
It's like, I'm not an advocate for book burning.
Or when Sansa killed Ramsay, which will not happen in the books,
forgotten.
Her biggest insult to him is, "You will be forgotten." But I'm talking, it's a specific interview I'm talking about that Bennioff gave, where he said, every writer wants to think they'll be remembered forever, and I want to be like Herman Melville, that you don't want to be forgotten. You might as well be dead. So
he's basically afraid of obscurity.
Oh, he's going to fade into obscurity.
I would rather embrace obscurity.
Yeah, because if you fade into obscurity, that means you can go out without being hounded. And I'd rather have my privacy, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's like, as much as I like to write fanfics, I don't want to be big. I don't want to be big for knowing anything. I just want to do my own thing. I don't want to be known as one of the bigger writers.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a following, but I don't want my following to be so big that I can't go anywhere and I have to be hauled up in my house and just have everything delivered to me. I mean, it would be nice if I had the option to do that, but
you don't.
I'd rather be outside dealing with people face to face than being on the phone or on the internet all the time.
Just come to Utah. Brandon Sanderson, Brandon Mull, and the other authors that live in Utah are pretty have pretty chill times. Like, they'll usually go to the grocery store kind of late, but I'll still have it.
Yeah.
So when you hit big, just move to Utah. That way no one will find you.
Yeah.
It's like, I know he's in here somewhere, and you're just going to the store grabbing some milk.
Well,
yeah.
I actually ran into Brandon Sanderson one time while I was at work.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Since he lives 5 minutes away from my house.
Wow.
Yeah, literally 5-minute drive away from my house, and I've actually been to his office where he stores his books.
Man, I'm so jealous of you right now.
And I still need to see his stinking supervillain lair. Everybody else in my family has seen it, but I want to see his supervillain lair. Even my sisters, who don't friggin' care about Brandon Sanderson.
Okay, I think I agree with Directed Duelist here. I want my ideas to be big. I don't want me to be big.
Yeah. It's like... Yeah. I mean, it's just... Well, that's why I write under the name Neph Champion. It's so that I can have a private life.
I tell you where I'll tell you to stay, but I want you to figure out where the heck I am. The sells it. When we find out where Dunn lives, we'll then go to every single house in the 5-mile radius until we find him.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, let's keep going.
Let's do it.
He wants to be a famous writer with the impulse of this lonely kid who wants to be loved more than anything. And he internalized this book by Bloom, who said the only way to be a famous writer who lives forever, like the Western canon, like How to Be Samuel Beckett. What is it about Beckett that made him a writer we remember forever? Bloom's warped interpretation is Beckett will be remembered forever because he's original, because he's not derivative of anything. But even Shakespeare, in some senses, was derivative because he was reacting to other things. So as weird as it sounds, but when you put together all these pieces, this is a rough draft video. This will make more sense. I know how weird this sounds. It'll make more sense when I put it together, intercut with the interviews he's given. I just realized maybe the reason Bennioff seemingly panicked about avoiding predictable plot endings in season 8 was because of this. Martin himself has spoken about this, that, there's certain plot lines that are coming up in future books which fans have guessed the ending at in broad strokes, which I'm not going to...
So, yeah, this is kind of... I love this particular quote in this interview, where it's like, he says...
Change. Because that would be absurd. That in a...
So he just says, like, I'm laying clues for books, and, like, people have got... the clues that picked up on the clues that I've left because I'm actually foreshadowing stuff, and that I'm not going to panic and just say, oh my gosh, they figured it out. I can't let it be. I have to change it. I have to go in a different direction. And it's basically like if you've set it up that the butler did it and you change it to the chambermaid, you screw up the whole book.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. There is going to be the odd person in my audience that will figure out what I'm doing before I do something. But that just means they're observant of the clues that I'm laying.
Acknowledge your audience's intellect. Don't insult them.
Yeah. And
so it's a good thing you're laying clues, not laying pipe.
There are going to be people in your audience that are going to be observant enough to figure out, as Martin says, in broad strokes, what you're doing. Don't insult them by changing it and getting and panicking.
Alrighty. Let's keep going.
It just shows how smart they are.
Yeah, and Martin is a smart guy, and this is 2015. This is 2015. He predicted it. He predicted it.
Season 6 is coming out this time.
Yep, he predicted it. He predicted it. But the thing is, like, I think actually Bennioff...
No, season 5, sorry.
Yeah, season 5. This was the year I left on my mission. This was just before season 5, actually. But it's just like he was prophesying. He was trying to warn us, and we didn't listen. We should have gotten Bennioff thrown off the project.
We needed to
just
run away.
Like Mark Hamill with Last Jedi. He tried to warn us, but nobody listened. Well, I did, but...
What we needed to do was take off our shirts and run Arnold Schwarzenegger style away from there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd already abandoned
at a certain point, you start guessing where the story is heading towards, and they're not going to suddenly introduce a new character. Lord of the Rings. It's not like as Gollum and Frodo are in Mount Doom, you're going to introduce a new character no one who has ever met before who will do something. Like, as you're reaching the climax of a story, there's only so many plot elements that are in play, so many variables, limited number of outcomes. And it's, that's predictable. Well, the flip side of that criticism is this was random and makes no goddamn sense, that you need to have foreshadowing. And yes, people might see it coming. As he said, as Martin has said, we're writing historical fiction. If you're writing something about Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, you know how she died. It's about her internal emotional states. It's an investigation to that. It's not about the plot elements when you're writing historical fiction. So seemingly, and we have evidence of other storylines they threw out a lot of storylines that they had in place in season 7. I think possibly Daenerys burning down King's Landing was something they came up with after season 7 was finished. We know they were setting up a Daenerys pregnancy storyline from the way they talk about in the commentaries, or not having Jaime kill Cersei, which they've admitted with a miscarriage storyline that was entirely different. But ignoring that for lack of evidence, the Night King storyline with Arya, where we have that video of him, just his only rationalization is, It was too predictable that Jon Snow would kill the Night King. So we went with Arya.
No. If Jon Snow was destined to fight the Night King, then you cannot change it to Arya. It has to be Jon.
Did you bring out an idea that the difference between reference and cliche is that the references are inevitable reflections of your experience? Cliches are when you copy-paste the entire concept without change.
Yeah.
Find it right here, Drake the Duelist. There you go. You could take a cliche and make it interesting. Therefore, right, you could take, like, for example, you could make the big dumb idiot cliche, but then you could have that beach. Then you have like the good aspects of his idiocy coming about. Caboose is a giant idiot and Reverse is blue, but he's very honest about himself. This is why I hate Destiny.
Do you think a lot of this is actor favoritism? You know, flippant actor favoritism. I've said that for most storylines. Other people have said that, and I think it might be both, that as he's this amateur hack writer and doesn't have the maturity of Martin to go, sometimes a predictable story needs to happen because it's what makes sense. That's why we had setup for 7 years, to follow through on it logically. That the best story shocks are the ones that make sense retroactively because you set them up, and inherently some people will see it coming. The Red Wedding was actually heavily foreshadowed in the books. You just didn't think it would happen, but I'm looking at I Love Harold Bloom. He says that the only books that live are the ones that are unique. That if I'm going to be the next Samuel Beckett, I need to have something unique that isn't derivative. You see where I'm going with this? That maybe this isn't a window into how Bennioff's mind works, that he is really afraid of doing something derivative, and in this case, derivative means predictable. So maybe he did all this random shit like Arya killing the Night King and throwing out all the Jon Snow setup because he started to get panicky if, this is going to be a predictable hero story like so many other fantasy series. So I have to do something unexpected. Like really at the last minute because he was getting paranoid. Might even extend to the Daenerys stuff. But talk about this more. I'm rambling. How long is this video? I'm already talking about this for half an hour. Just when he says literally the one book.
And oh my god, why? I swear, these ads are just... This is the mobile gaming ad tactic right here. Displaying footage that's not actually the game.
Of writing criticism, of literary...
You want me to screen share? That way we don't get any ads.
Read from start to finish is this one book, The Anxiety of Influence. We should pay attention to that. So, end of this video, please go to the Wikipedia page for this, read it and go, is this why Bennioff was avoiding predictable things in favor of random shit, which was worse? But at a certain point, you need to follow story structure. So this is a rough draft. I made it without a script, mostly just so I remember this point for later, of the Harold Bloom book and its influence on him.
All right, and that is it.
Can't wait for next week when we either read Framing Monsters or this book.
I think we'll do Framing Monsters next week just to finish that chapter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So,
yay! More incoming ironic Muslim hating.
Islamophobia.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover. So, you excited for this book in a couple weeks?
Yes, I am. Yeah. I am totally excited. I cannot wait.
How are we going to do it?
I am packing cyanide pills for vacation.
So, how are we going to do it? Are we going to do a chapter of book?
I think so.
Okay. That works for me.
Well, basically, I think that this applies very much.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
Our collective intellect went down by 20 points. So, great job.
Yeah, this was fun, and we got a good group of people. I'm very happy that so many people showed up for this. Anyway, I have to say one last thing, and to new people, this is just my outro.
Holy shit. Okay, we're going.
Bye, guys.